With Alistair Jones, Associate Professor of Politics at the Montfort University in Leicester. Alistair, welcome back. What does this proposed new team tell us about the EU, where it is and where it's going?
What does it tell us? Well, I think the important point to note, first of all, is it's proposed. So, as was pointed out by your correspondent there, this has all got to be approved by the European Parliament. So what Ursula von der Leyen is trying to do is to demonstrate across Europe, look, I'm encompassing all groups. I'm encompassing those from the right because they are growing in support. About 1 in 7 of all MEPs come from the far right. I'm keeping mainstream in place, so the European People's Party and the Social Democrats are still there. And there's other groups as well that she's doing. So she's trying to demonstrate that she's all-encompassing.
Well, you said it there, the rise of the far right in the recent EU elections really does pose an almost existential challenge to the EU and what it stands for. Is a reshuffle of the top faces, the top team, going to make any real difference? They're not going to go away, are they?
Well, if you look at me, the thing to note is that with all the names being put forward, each country nominates who they want. So Meloni has nominated Fito as being the Italian person to be in the Commission. Now, the reality is Ursula von der Leyen has little to no influence over that nomination from countries. So those countries with much more right-leaning governments, such as Italy, such as Slovakia, such as Hungary, they're going to nominate people that represent those governments' interests. So in this respect, Ursula von der Leyen has, to some extent, got her hands tied behind her back. And what she's trying to do is to allocate portfolios that are going to enable her to get that broad agenda forward, that green agenda, the issues around competitiveness, to get all of that forward, to get all the countries to actually buy into what she wants and how she sees Europe going forward. Now, this is a horribly tricky process, and the interviewing that's going to go ahead, it may well be that the European Parliament turns around and says, we don't like some of these people, we want those countries to reconsider. But it's accept all or reject all, and that's the problem that the European Parliament is going to have.
One of the biggest issues in trade for the EU is obviously its relationship with China. How does this change at the top with the new team? Is that going to change or more of the same?
I suspect it's going to be more of the same. I think the EU is going to be a little bit more assertive in some issues. So they may highlight, for example, some of their concerns about the extent to which China is or is not supporting Putin's war in Ukraine. And they would actually like China to back away and actually be, if you like, impartial, or maybe even going in line with what the EU would like and all of that. So that's behind the scenes, that sort of politicking is going on. But in terms of trade, I mean, there's huge amounts of trade. We're talking hundreds of billions of euros involved in trade between the EU and China. And if that relationship gets destabilized, it is going to have a huge impact upon both the Chinese economy and that of the EU collectively. So it's in both sides' best interest to keep their relationship going in a reasonably strong, reasonably positive way forward.
Alistair, good to see you. Thanks very much for that. Alistair Jones, Associate Professor of Politics at de Montfort University in Leicester.